The Minnesota Wild fall just short to the Detroit Red Wings tonight as Ville Husso with a vintage performance. But we'll talk about what led to the Wild not being able to get the tying goal on today's Locked On Wild postcast.
You are Locked On Wild Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, your team every day.
Minnesota Wild come up just short 2-1 tonight, losing to the Detroit Red Wings to fall to 3-4-1 on the season. And it's a weird game because there isn't a lot really that there's really a lot that I take away from this one that I didn't like. I mean, we saw the Wild again dominate in puck possession. The Kaprizov, Gaudreau, Zuccarello line with a ton of really good looks. The Wilds ultimately just had a couple of shots that they couldn't stop, and that was the difference in this one tonight. So overall, this play that we have seen over the last few games since the 0-3 start, it continues. And we saw really good things defensively again in this one. We saw the offense be able to control the puck for a great length of time. So it's not like we had anything that broke down. It just simply was a lack of goals, and that was because Detroit did such a good job of stopping rebound opportunities and clearing out the front of the net. So the Wild didn't have an opportunity to pounce on a rebound because, as Ville Husso typically does, there were plenty of juicy rebounds to be had. It's just every time they kicked out from in front of the net, there was a Red Wings player there to pounce on it and to move the puck the other way. It also seemed like Detroit tried to really attack the Wilds in the neutral zone and kind of get them off balance so that they could get some of those odd man rushes coming back the other way. And ultimately, I would have liked to have seen at least one of those goals by Detroit saved by Filip Gustavsson. So let's talk about those and just talk about Gustafsson's performance overall because I thought it was fine. You would think that a goalie giving up 2 goals would be enough for you to win. But here's kind of where I struggle with it. So that first goal by Dylan Larkin, Filip Gustavsson got deked out by Jonas Brodin, did he not? Brodin went down to try to block the shot, and I think Gustafsson was focused on that. And then Larkin sends one straight past his ear up and into the net. I mean, I get it. You see a player go down in front of you and you're thinking that it's going to be a low shot coming in, but it just seemed like that kind of distracted Gustafsson and allowed to him giving up that goal. But the other goal off of I just got to say it was a bad penalty by Matt Dumba that led to another power play opportunity. And it's killer too because the second period wasn't as good as the first and third in terms of how the Wild played. I thought they were really good in the first and third. Second period, there was a little bit of a lull, and Detroit was able to take advantage. And a penalty to wrap up a period in which the Wild were in a situation to just go into this one tied at 1-1. You can't do it. You can't take a penalty in that instance, and it's another high-sticking penalty on Matt Dumba. He had a high-sticking penalty against the Senators, and there just is no reason for it. It's just leading to, I've been a Matt Dumba defender a lot on this show, but it's just the penalties, the turnovers, the bad plays are really starting to mount. And, even putting him on the third line, he is contributing for the other team to help them come away with opportunities. So it was a bad penalty. And the Wild penalty kill kind of got swung around as well. There was a mess in front of the net, and Gustafsson made the initial save on the second penalty kill, but then it kicked off of his left leg and went into the net as I think it was Perron was crashing into the net to give the Red Wings the lead there, and that was the only one they needed. It felt like, and this I'm sure is in no coincidence, the fact that Perron is now with the Red Wings. It just felt like kind of a St. Louis style of game, and I think that was part of the game plan, was just to try to be physical and try to hit this Wild team. To the Wild's credit, they handled it relatively well, and so it's one of those games where you finish up and you see things at the end. And I don't know. It's one that the Wild just came up short on, but all the stuff that really mattered, the effort level and all those other metrics was right there. It just was a game that the Wild just could not get that additional play to come away, especially considering they controlled the puck in the Detroit zone for the entirety of the final 2 minutes. Like, that puck did not leave the Detroit side of the net, and the Wild just could not. They just could not get a shot through that suffocating Detroit defense. So Detroit's a good team. They had players that were out of the lineup tonight, and so you tip your cap. Ville Husso was good. I think the Detroit defense was better, just in not allowing the Wild to take advantage of rebound opportunities. So that's all it is. It's one of those teams lose competitive games of hockey throughout the season, and so that's really all it is. Just a loss to a good team, and we can still be inspired by what we have seen on this road trip, which is the Wild getting back to the style of hockey that they are supposed to be playing. And they continued it here, and now they get to go up against a very upstart Chicago Blackhawks team who at last check was beating Buffalo tonight. So should be an interesting matchup in that one tomorrow, which we will take a little bit more of a look at as we continue our Locked on Wild postcast. Again, the Wild losing 2-1 to Detroit here tonight, and we will continue our dissection of this game after a word from our sponsors. BetOnline.net is your number one source for betting on the NFL, college football, and the start of the new NBA season. You can find all the latest player developments, plus team matchups for every big game, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every single game, every single day, week, all on BetOnline. And as always, BetOnline.net remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. So head over to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more, all about BetOnline, where the game starts. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen SimpliSafe Home Security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. And at SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. So whether you are a first-time home buyer or a long-time home owner looking for better peace of mind, SimpliSafe can give you just that. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, plus smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Minnesota Wild falling 2-1 to the Detroit Red Wings. And as Ron points out on YouTube, Buffalo just beating the Blackhawks 4-3 in overtime. So Chicago had a 3-1 lead in that game, and they were not able to hold it. So we'll see if that carries over into tomorrow's game as well. But just a couple of other things I wanted to key in on in this one. A look that I was going to bring up earlier this week, but was not able to. We're seeing the Wilds maybe try to find a dynamic weapon that they can deploy after penalty kills, that being Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Zuccarello, and Matt Boldy. Yes, please. I would have no problem seeing more of that throughout the season, and I hope that Dean Evison keeps going to that unit just as a way to kind of keep momentum, especially after a successful penalty kill, just to try to really pounce on some extended zone time in the opponent's zone. The other thing that a couple of things I wanted to key in on. This team, and I know the numbers aren't super inspiring. I mean, the Wilds have, I think, for the most part this season, been much better at winning faceoffs. And you see it on nights like tonight where it helps them extend zone presence time. And, it's not like they're winning like 70% of the draws, but even just being above 50% any given night has really helped this team improve in the zone possession numbers. In fact, just going to take a look at what the faceoffs ended up as here in tonight's game, because it feels like you are getting some really good things from Freddie Gaudreau. Ryan Hartman had a couple of wins here in this one tonight. Joel Eriksson Ek had a dominant game in the faceoff circle against the Ottawa Senators. And so you look up and down the list. Eriksson Ek had 5 wins, 3 losses tonight. Freddie Gaudreau, 8 wins, 4 losses in the faceoff circle. And then Ryan Hartman, 1 win, 2 losses. Marco Rossi, 6 wins, 5 losses. Sam Steele, 0 for 1. And then Connor Dewar, 2 wins, 3 losses. So another interesting thing that we're seeing with this team is that I think we're seeing way more confidence in playing the Kaprizov line, playing the Boldy line, playing the now Eriksson Ek, Duhaime, and Hartman line. But you look at those fourth line guys, and the time on ice disparity is not really popping out that much. I mean, Mason Shaw had 9 minutes tonight. Sam Steele and Connor Dewar had 11 minutes apiece. But we're starting to see Rossi get between 13 and 15 minutes a night. And just, I like the fact that he is glued to the hip of Matt Boldy. And we haven't seen Rossi really do anything egregious. He's doing everything that he needs to do out there on the ice. And that has led to people suggesting that they feel like his first NHL goal is coming. And I'll agree with that. It feels like he's getting closer to being able to break that goose egg. And with how much that Foligno, Boldy, Rossi line has been controlling the puck, leading to more opportunities, it feels like that line is going to break out here really soon. But I think this team has found some things that they like with these line combinations. Freddie Gaudreau has been great as the center for Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello. That line just flat out does not give up the puck. And if Gaudreau wins draws and he wins battles along the boards and then adds some of his offensive upside to the mix, that's a hard unit to stop. And you look now at what we're getting from the new Grief line with Duhaime, Hartman, and Eriksson Ek. The Duheck line, I don't know what to call it, but that line has been really good defensively as well. And then Boldy, Rossi, Foligno, those lines have all been grinding and doing some good things for this team. So it's not going to shock me at all if we see these lines kind of be the new ones going forward, be the default going forward. The only thing is Tyson Jost now has been scratched in 2 straight games. I don't know where you put him because Mason Shaw played well tonight, despite getting just 9 minutes. Maybe you give Sam Steele a breather. He had a couple of turnovers here in this one tonight. So maybe you give him a breather and you put Jost in there. But the one thing that Steele has is some really good speed. So I don't know. It creates a problem where it creates a good problem, I guess, in that you have guys on that fourth line that are fighting for positioning every given night. But I feel like those top 3 lines are pretty set at this point. It's a good mix with those guys. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we see Dean not really mess with those here going forward. The Wild will be playing the Chicago Blackhawks tomorrow night. And Chicago has got to be one of the bigger surprises in the NHL so far. They come in 4-3-0. They're 3-1 at home. And you look at what they have gotten from their goalies. Although Alex Stalock, after a great start to the season, his numbers have really started to balloon. But they're getting what you would expect from some of the vets on this team. And looking forward to what should be not as easy of a game as we had anticipated coming into the season, because this Chicago team is rolling. We'll have a preview episode for you tomorrow on Locked On Wild, so make sure you tune in for that. But ultimately, Wild's come up just a little bit short, but they did a lot of good things in this one tonight. Just could not get the equalizer goal. That happens sometimes. And so the Wild will try to snap the back into the win column when they take on Chicago tomorrow. For more on the Minnesota Wild, make sure you are following Locked On Wild wherever you listen to your podcasts, and also on YouTube. We will catch you tomorrow for yet another edition of Minnesota Wild Hockey. We have you covered as part of the Locked On Sports Podcast Network.